Hello, beautiful teachers! In this video, I want to give you a little look inside my own personal assignment library in Vivid Practice. So, first of all, this is not to say that this is how you should do it. You need to do what feels right for you and feels in the right voice. My studio, as you may have gathered, is full of bright colours and fun and games. So my notes tend to err on that side as well. But I thought you'd be curious what different categories I have, how I organise things, and the kind of notes that I write for my students. So let's take a look inside my Vivid Practice. So this is what my assignment library looks like. There's quite a lot of scrolling to do if we were to go through all the folders. I don't go to this view very often unless I'm adding new assignments. This is mostly for organising my assignment library. For students, I'm using the search bar, so I don't have to scroll through all these folders. But you'll see I have at the bottom, that's Toy Box by June Armstrong, so that's a book. I have all my thinking theory books inside here. I'll show you those in a second. Some pieces for our silent film project we're doing at the moment. I have all my scales separated out because I find it easier to organise that way, and I do have a lot of different versions of scales that I do with students, and they all have specific backing tracks attached. For my rote repertoire, which is by Samantha Coates, I organise that into the 4 levels she has, which are like the hats that appear on the pieces, so that I can easily know where something sits in terms of the difficulty when I'm looking it up. Piano Safari 1, 2 and 3, that's the main series, is what I mean by that. Online from the Outset, that stands for, that's a VMT collection. And then I have some challenges as well, all the Masterwork Classics. No, not all. I don't have 9 and 10 in here, because my students just don't get to those very often. They'll often be picking specific pieces at that level, rather than going through an anthology like Masterwork Classics. So it's normally up to 8. Exam stuff is random exam things that you need specifically for our Irish words, so that won't be of interest to most of you. Creative Kickstart is another vibrant music teaching course. Ear Elevator is as well. And then more challenges. I have these book choices. Let's come back to those next, and then just show you all my arpeggios, like I have all the scales, and then more challenges. So let me start with these book choices, and I'll show you what those look like. These are lists I've put together of books we normally have on our shelves here in the studio at different levels. They're for supplemental books. So once my students reach like a level 2 kind of thing, I will normally at some point during level 2 introduce supplemental books. I don't generally do supplements generally. It's not a hard and fast rule, but generally we don't use a lot of supplemental repertoire until they're about that level 2 reading standard, because then they can really get through really great pieces that they love. So you'll see I have a few here. Some of these are for exams, and then like this one, this is just a list of some of my favourite books at that level, and I kind of modify these over time based on what we have, so it'll kind of be up to date, but I include the links there for where they can listen to them. So how I use this is when a student is at that level and I want them to pick a book, a new supplemental book to add on to their method book studies, I will assign this to them in Vivid Practice and ask them to look at it during the week, listen to the pieces. I often email the parents as well, because it's a good one for them to do together, and listen to the pieces, see which one they want to learn. Maybe let me know before the next day, or maybe just when they get to their next lesson. If they show up to the next lesson and they haven't listened to them, then we go through and listen to them together so they can make a choice. But it does mean they have that opportunity to save the lesson time if they follow through with that at home. Most do, some don't. So, going on from there, that's my book choices. You'll see I have contest winners for 2, just randomly book 4, because that's what I had been working on when I set that up, and as I work on a new book I will add it. With my less frequently used books, that's often the way that I handle that. Masterwork Classics is pretty standard. I'll show you the notes for that. I have just this standard format for all of them, and in a certain level that's like an appropriate general practice strategy, so that I have that in place, and then if I want them to do something specific that's based on that student and that piece and where they're at with it, then obviously I'll replace that text. But this just gives me a starting point, because tapping the rhythm with both hands all these pieces are hands together, listening to the piece, singing it, and then practicing it in short sections. That's just general good advice, right? I also have, of course, the audio attached here, which is from the CD that comes with the book. So that's nice and handy. Now, I said I would come back to the challenges. Let's look at the 60-second challenges. So we have 3 levels of these. These are another vibrant music teaching thing. And what we have there is the attached files. I obviously forgot to attach them on the previous one, but you get the idea from this one. This is the second level. I have these attached. I'll show you what they look like. For most people, that would open in a new tab. For me, it downloaded because that's just how I have things set up. Okay, so these are what these look like. They're from Vibrant Music Teaching, so they're just mobile-friendly versions of the flashcards so that they can try to name all the notes at home. And then I also include a NoteRush link for this, so that's an app to work on note names, and they have the function that you can set up a certain range of notes and then send a link that will automatically preload that range of notes. So for example, the second level of the 60-second challenge for us, our note naming challenge, is basically all the notes going from the bottom line of the staff to the top. So all the notes on the staff and then middle C, but no other ledger lines. Okay, so that's one of the challenges that we have. We also have the Minval Challenges in here, the chord challenges. If I have something like this, which has rope pieces with reminder videos, I'll put the YouTube link in there so it's nice and handy for them as well. And then I'll just show you the thinking theory as well, because I handle this a bit differently. So for me, and this is where it comes back to you and what you like to do, what you find as a good system, and you'll adjust that over time. So don't go setting up your entire library in one go. That's my recommendation. But for me, when I'm assigning a piece, I think of the piece title. I remember piece titles pretty easily. I don't remember what page number it's on, and I'm not usually referring to that. Does that make sense? So I'm not like just going to the next page in a book usually, so it doesn't make sense to refer to the page numbers in that case. So I won't put the page number in the title when I store them. However, with theory, I do. So with my thinking theory books, and you could do this with any theory series, I have a little code system that I sort of know how I lay these things out. So I start with that, and that means when I'm looking at theory pages to assign to a student, it's really quick and easy for me to do that. So it goes TT1, that's for thinking theory 1, and then P, so page, a 01, because I put the 0 in because in some systems it won't pick up the 1 in order. It would go 1 and then 11 if you don't do the 0. So 01 works better, a 2-digit number. So they're just laid out like that. And that makes it super easy for me to just assign the next couple of pages to my student. Some people do page ranges for theory. The reason I don't is I like to have the video attached for my thinking theory where it has videos. And I won't always be assigning the same number of pages to students, so it wouldn't make sense to set that up. So I have them as individual pages, and that's how I have it set up. But you'll see it's pretty simple there. Watch the video and then complete the pages. And then some of them, I'd say most of the first pages will. This one won't have a video attached. Okay, so just says complete this page in your workbook. There's nothing more to be said about that because all the information is on the page. And if they have questions about it, of course, they ask me as well. So that is how I have my assignments laid out, and gives you some idea of what's inside them, what the notes look like. Obviously, they vary depending on the piece. For my more regularly used things, like my method books that I use again and again, such as Piano Safari, my notes are more detailed based on the specific piece. So I have certain ways that I like them to practice a certain piece. Like if I know this piece has a tricky part in the middle, I'll have them start there and then go from the beginning, that kind of thing. So they're more specific on those ones. And then for pieces that I use slightly less frequently, like the Masterwork Classics, but they're still worth having in there because I use them enough, but not enough for me to spend ages tailoring each of those notes. So I'll have a set of practice strategies that works for that level, and we'll just have put them in the notes for all of that level, and we can replace them as needed. So I hope this gives you a good idea of how I do my assignments, how you might like to do yours. Mine tend to have a lot of emojis and different things and otherwise be quite minimal in the text. Depending on the student's level, I might write a little bit more, a little bit less as I'm going through. But I'd love to hear how you do yours, what you do differently to me, maybe anything in this video that you want to give a go.